The evolution of data takes the center stage in the planning for the provision of infrastructural facilities for the people. Proper data generation makes government to be abreast of the needs of the people in terms of employment, education, and housing. This also aids in meeting the man's law theory for the good of the people. Due to the import of data generation to planning, the federal government established the National Population Commission in 1988. It is saddled with the responsibility of collecting, analyzing, and disseminating demographic data in the country. It is also mandated to undertake demographic sample surveys, compile, collate, and publish migration and civil registration statistics, as well as monitor the country's population growth. The Commission undertakes periodic enumeration of the population through sample surveys, censuses, or otherwise. It is equally established to maintain machinery for continuous and universal registration of births and deaths throughout the Federation, as well as advising the President on population matters. To what extent has the Commission been able to perform these all-important roles with the aim of putting government in a better position to properly plan for its population? These and more shall be our focus as we host the Director General of the Commission, Dr. Ghaji Bello, on today's edition of the program. My name is Kemi Fakeye. Welcome. The program is stepping up, and we have with us in the studio today the Director General of the National Population Commission, in person of Dr. Ghaji Bello. You're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much, Kim.
And thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Let's start by talking about the population of Nigeria. As at today, what is the population of this country? Because we have so many figures flying around.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by seizing this opportunity to congratulate Mr. President and his able Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, for having been re-elected for a second and final term, and for the confidence that the people of this country have renewed in them. I also want to use the opportunity to pray that may this second term usher in more goods for our country and for humanity at large.
Amen.
On the question of what is the current population of Nigeria, I think it's an important question. But certain things are absolutely correct. For instance, our population is the highest on the continent. That one there is no dispute. It is also one of the 7th largest on the planet. That's also there's no dispute. It is also likely to be the 3rd largest in years to come if measures are not taken to address the bulging, or as it were, a rapid growth of our population. Having said all this, the current population of Nigeria, based on the 2006 census, as the estimate, it's between 198 million to 102. Let me now explain a little bit. One would have loved to say the figure is exactly 200, but certainly, or to give a precise figure. We have not reached that technological stage whereby you wake up, you look into a dashboard, know the number of people that have come on board, know the number of people that have exited, that is through the birth and the death. We have not yet reached there. However, these things are possible. Having said that, the population, as I said, based on the estimate, is between 198 million Nigerians to 201. 2 weeks ago, or thereabout, UNFPA, which is an organ of the United Nations, relates its own estimate, which is 201. 201 million. In fact, we were called to comment on that. But our own figure is 198 million. And the reason is simple.
201 or 102?
No, 201. 201 million. And then our own figure is 198 million. So we have a difference of 3 million. About.
Yeah.
But still that 3 million is very important because...
How did they come about their own figure?
Exactly. Now, that is the point I'm going into. There is based on the assumptions they have made about the population using quite a number of parameters. We are also using our own assumptions, using our own parameters. But at the end of the day, all the parameters, it all depends on what parameters you are imputing and what level of range you are taking. If you take the low level variant, you are likely to come to about 198 million. If you take the medium level variant, you are likely to come to maybe about 200. If you take the upper limit or the high level variant, you are likely to be under 201 million or even 202. But the whole point is, all these are estimates, they are projections, and certainly based on two facts. They are all based on the 2006 census that was undertaken about 13 years ago. So what is important now, and let me use this opportunity to appeal to government that it is high time our country undertakes another census. We ought to have conducted the last census, or we ought to have conducted census as far back as 2016. That is after 2006, because the United Nations recommendations is after every 10 years you should be able to renew, take another census, look at your data, because at the end of the day, the importance of data is about planning.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a precise figure, you don't know the total number of people you have, you don't know the composition, you don't know the distribution, you don't know the structure, then your planning becomes a little bit inhibited. Inhibited in the sense that
it will be based on assumptions.
On assumptions. For instance, this present administration has done quite a lot in terms of the provision of infrastructure. Yes, granted, it may have been initiated by previous administration, but at least the fact that it is being pursued to complete the developmental goals of government, because at the end of the day, the people are the government. Look at the Abuja Railway, for instance. Look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Look at the second Niger Bridge. Look at the agricultural revolution or rebirth that is taking place in the northwest and in the northeast. But all this could have been more effective if we know which area really demands the supply of these services. Now we are just working on assumption. Politicians could say that I want to build 20 schools or 20 hospitals. But that recourse to data. Possibly you may need more than 20 schools. Possibly you need less than 20 schools. Maybe you want to build hospitals. Perhaps you may go and say, I want to build 2 hospitals in each local government. Perhaps another local government that is poor, that is small, the priority of such a local government may not be a hospital, maybe a school, or vice versa. Yeah. So this is why we are saying that it is important that we are appealing to government to really come to the take a critical decision, make a proclamation, so that government can now, because now it's almost 3 years behind the actual date that
scheduled time.
Behind the scheduled time.
Yeah.
And for instance, in 2020, I hope and pray that by 2020 we should be able to have a census, but that will not happen until a pronouncement is made. I have received just a moment.
Where lies the problem?
Yes, I'll come to that.
Okay.
Last week and the week before, the United States Census Bureau, because when there was a hype in the system about 2 years ago that they will be doing census 2016, 2017, and then the whole thing died down.
Yeah.
We are keeping in touch. We are keeping in touch with development partners. All they are waiting for is that they want the government to make a proclamation that they will be undertaking census, based on which they will now come to the aid and assistance of this country and development partners, and that they will not plan or come to the assistance of the government unless and until they know the plan of government, because they work with plans. They cannot take their money and give us. But if they know that next year we are going to do, say, census, they will plan it in their budget, make provision, and then the beauty about it is that most censuses that have been undertaken in this country, a substantial part, perhaps almost 60% plus, is coming from development partners and donor agencies. All that they require, and I have evidence to show that there is interest, a global interest in what is happening about the population, about census taken in this country.
Okay. Let's take a short break at this junction. When we come back, we'll talk more on the mandate of the National Population Commission. Viewer, we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. The program is still stepping up, and we still have Dr. Ghaji Bello, the Director General of the National Population Commission, still sitting in the studio and talking about the mandate of the commission and their plans anyway to conduct another census after 2006. It's been a long time. Part of the mandate of this commission is to advise the president on population issue. Are you doing this at all?
Thank you very much. Yes, we have actually early in the life of the administration, the first term of Mr. President, with the former chairman and the commissioners, honorable federal commissioners, we undertook a courtesy call to Mr. President. We were among the first few agencies to pay a visit, congratulatory visit to him, and then we laid before him our issues and the need for proclamation as far back as 2015. But as I said also, one also has to be conscious of the fact that a lot has changed in the economy, especially 2015, 2016, and including even recently before we could have exited the session. So we are also conscious of, first of all, the need for us to execute our mandate as directed, but also we are not working in isolation. We are working in a system, and the system provides is interrelated. The system provides on the basis of what is available. So we are conscious that the issue of funding is a major problem to us. So we have also written, we are operate directly under the Office of the Secretary to the Government, and he's giving us attention. So that is as far as I can say with respect to that, whether we have made approaches or not.
Okay, we know that Nigeria has a population policy. Tell us about this policy.
Okay, the population policy of Nigeria actually first came into existence in 1988, and then it was reviewed in 2004, yes. The essence of the policy, essentially, since it is a population policy, is to craft or take steps that will address, that will create an enabling environment for a healthy population with a good living standard. And steps are spelled out clearly on the things that need to be done in order to be able to arrive at a manageable, healthy, vibrant, happy population. Some of these steps, essentially, the need for us to possibly reduce the fertility rate, because by the time you have a very large population, managing that will not give you that kind of environment whereby you'll be able to manage. It's just like an individual at a family size. If one has one wife, or say a small family, and somebody who has a very large family, and let's even assume for the sake of assumption that their incomes are equal, you realize that one of the two families is likely to fare better than the other one.
Definitely.
Therefore, the policy aimed at reducing the fertility rate, reducing child mortality, reducing maternal mortality, eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, and also combating diseases like HIV and AIDS and malaria, etc., etc. But more importantly, the policy was reviewed in 2004, based on certain developments in the international environment. One of which was the 1994 conference in Cairo, titled the Program of Action for Population and Development throughout the world. And that, coupled with the fact that there was also the coming in being of the Millennium Development Goals, both targeted and set an agenda for all countries that, look, let's have these targets. Each country should attempt to achieve these targets within a particular set period of time. Let's say, I think that that policy was aimed at 2015. But I would say that there are some reasonable, manageable successes that have been achieved.
Okay.
But not entirely. And again, it's to throw out. I think another thing that the policy aim was to create an environment so that you have environmental development that is healthy, and then sustainable development.
Okay. Well, recently you are collaborating with the Ministry of Communication and the Ministry of Health,
Yes.
on this issue of population. Can you give us an insight to these collaborations?
Thank you very much. The Ministry of Education, let me start with Ministry of Health. They are our partners in one of the services that we undertake, which is called the Nigerian Demographic Health Service.
Okay.
It is one of our main sources of data after the census.
Okay.
It is normally undertaken at interval of our intercensal period. But essentially what we do during the survey is to try as much as possible to collect data about the population on major health indicators of the population, which is what is the fertility rate, what is the mortality rate, what is the migration in and out, what is the family planning, what is the status of family planning in the country. So all these combinations are aimed at producing, and then I aim at looking at how do you manage a healthy population. For instance, since 1999, when the Nigerian Demographic Health Survey was introduced, the Commission has been undertaking it consistently on a 5-yearly basis. So 1999 we had one, 2003 we conducted another survey, 2008 we conducted another survey, 2013 we have conducted another survey. Presently, as we are speaking, we have concluded the last survey that we have done since inception in 1999, and that in fact, the major findings, the preliminary findings, will be made available on Tuesday, the 14th of this month, in the Ministry of Education to register, to reveal to the nation and to government the major findings from the health survey that we have, from the major health indicators. But more importantly, we'll also do the national dissemination in August, whereby we'll now be able to say, okay, nationwide, these are the findings, because these are preliminary findings. But by the time they are firm up in August, we'll be able to say, okay, look, these are the findings in the absence of census. And then thereafter, from September to December, we intend to go on to state-by-state basis, so we'll reveal on a state-by-state basis. Let me make some clarifications here.
Okay.
The state-by-state basis will now examine in details, because the states vary. For instance, what obtains in Sokoto may not necessarily be what is obtained in Imo, or what obtains in Lagos may not be necessarily what is obtained in Taraba.
Yeah.
So by the time you go that, they will be able to tell the state governments, look, in terms of education, this is where we are. In terms of fertility rate, this is where you are. In terms of mortality rate, this is where you are. In terms of access to amenities, this is where you are. And that there is a variance. But the national will just give you an average. For instance, if you say that the growth rate of the population of Nigeria is 3.2, this is a national average.
Mm-hmm.
And in some parts of the country, you may have a high figure of as high as maybe 6%. In some other areas, it may be below the national average, maybe about 3, because the national average is 3.2. So what we are saying, by the time we say the growth rate of Nigeria's population is 3.2, mm-hmm. Actually a lot of things are embedded.
Yeah.
When I say embedded, it means that it's given the national average. There are local variations. You will agree with me, Nigeria is a rainbow, and I love this country. It's a rainbow society, whatever you like. You will
what about Ministry of Communications?
Fine. We also, with the other ministry that we also relate much more, we have a closer collaboration. It's not Ministry of Communication, although we do have, but it's the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
And the Ministry of Education, that is why now we do the Nigerian Education Data Survey, and this is why we look at the enrollment in schools, the total enrollment, the dropout, the reason why children drop out, the school attendance.
What about NIMC, the National Identity Card Management Commission? Are you also collaborating in any way?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because population also has to do with national identity.
There is a committee under the office of His Excellency the Vice President on the data, all data gathering agencies.
Okay.
The aim is actually to pool all data generating agencies together so that there will be a harmony, so that each of them will be able to speak to one another, so that there will be interoperability.
Okay.
For instance, those agencies, Nigerian National Population Commission, NIMC, Road Safety, NCC, National Communication Commission, Nigerian Immigration Services, I have mentioned Road Safety, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and similar other agencies. So by the time, because all of us are now have been collecting data on our own, without the necessary data communicating to each other. But the beauty, without harmonization. But now this is being taken care of under that committee. But more importantly, is that National Population Commission is a foundational data agency. By that I mean we are supposed to register all the births. We are supposed to register also all the deaths. And therefore, if you want to know the number of people that have telephone lines, certainly they have to be Nigerians. We give them the first legal identity, which is the birth registration. Yeah. By the time the population, there are dates, they will exceed. We are supposed to, for instance, we are being challenged sometimes before the election, if you recall, that some dead persons have appeared on the register. The National Population Commission ideally ought to actually look at cleaning the data, as it were, because it's part of our mandate. But because of other challenges that the Commission has, we are not able presently to do so, because you need technology, you need database, you need computers, you need to digitalize, you need to do a million and one things. So that all. But I said there is hope. Things are actually moving forward. There is change. Actually, if I can put it, there is change in there. Things are taking place, and I believe that in not long a distant future, all these agencies will be able to harmonize, so that, for instance, before you are giving your driver's license, road safety should be able to collect the data from National Population Commission. Has this individual reached the age of receiving or collecting driver's license? As we say, yes, this is the data, have access to it. Similarly, if NIMC is to give the unique identity, the unique national identity card, they should be able to build it on the data that is given at the point of birth, and we are supposed to have that. So that
the National Population Commission.
Exactly. And then, for instance, even when you have, say, NCC, National Communication Commission, before they could register, they ought to have, they need to refer to both the NIMC data and the National Population Commission data. So they will all cross-check. So when you say Kemi Fakele, I hope I'm pronouncing it very well.
It's Fakeye.
Fakeye. Yeah. Kemi Fakeye. Yes. There will only be one Kemi Fakeye in the whole of Nigeria. Yeah. With your distinct features, there should be no two. Also, if you say Ghaji Bello, there should be only one Ghaji Bello. Yeah. But presently, you are likely to have Kemi Fakeye in Ondo, another one in Lagos, but they should not have the same biometrics or the same other identity attributes. Thank you very much, Dr. Ghaji Bello, Director General, National Population Commission. It's been nice having you with us on today's edition of Stepping Up. It's been nice having you around. Thank you very much for having me as well. Thank you. On this note, viewer, we shall be saying bye-bye on today's edition of Stepping Up. Thank you for being there. Bye for now.